Hey, what's going on, guys? In this video, I want to talk about a simple way that you can organize everything in your life. Now for this simple organization system, this is going to focus on organizing your actions on a day-to-day basis. So your actions are really the only thing that you can control. You can't really control your time or manage your time. That's kind of a misapplied saying. What we really want to be doing is managing our actions. So for this, we're going to call this our personal action management system. And it's really going to be very simple. It's just going to be composed of 3 parts. There's going to be one part that's going to allow you to track your long-term goals, things like 1 to 3 years or more out. Then you're going to be tracking your short-term projects. These are going to be things you're focusing on this quarter or for the next 2 to 5 months. And then you're going to have how you're tracking your day-to-day actions. This is going to be short-term. It's going to be in the next 3 to 7 days, depending on how you use it. And that's really all we're going to need. A simple system to keep track of those, something like a calendar, and then the ability to get online and use a couple different web apps. As long as you have that, you have everything you need, and we can get into how you're going to set up this personal action management system. So the first part is that you're going to have to pick what programs you're going to use. I just use my computer for this. I use simple web apps, and for the majority of my tracking, I just use simple Google document. Now you can use whatever you want, but I suggest you keep it as simple as possible to start. The last thing I say before we get into how I do this is that I separate everything that I'm doing for my professional life with things that I'm doing for my personal life, and they only come together for me when I'm planning out that short term, my actual day-to-day actions, that short 3 to 7 day time frame. So they sort of come together when I'm planning that out, but otherwise for the long-term planning purposes, I like to keep those separate. So first off, I'm just going to go over what I use for my long-term 1 to 3 year or more goals. Now for this, I really just keep track of everything that I want to do, all the specifics of my goals on a Google Sheet. And I do this because your long-term goals should be fairly specific and they should be focused. And because they're long-term objectives, they're probably going to focus on one main thing that you want to achieve in that area for whatever goal we're talking about. You know, if this is for your business, this might be something like a revenue goal. If this is for your personal life, it might be something that's related to, you know, equality for a relationship or things like that. It should be easy to define, and it shouldn't take you much more than a couple sentences to write out what this goal is. So if you have a bunch of these for your life, they're not going to need to be stored in any complex sort of system. You can really just put them on a sheet. Now for me, I like to split up my goals into a few different areas of life. I like to focus on common areas like my health, my relationships, my financial situation. I also like to focus on personal goals that are outside of those areas. So for me, this could be a hobby or an activity that you like. That's something that's personal and it's outside of those other 3 areas. And then for a 5th one, honorable mention, I'm going to add in spirituality. This should be a part of everyone's life, but it's not often talked about, or at least not in the context of setting and achieving goals. I do, however, think that you can be creative and come up with some for yourself for this area of your life. You know, even if it's something as simple as, hey, I'm going to sit by myself and listen to my thoughts 1 day a week for at least an hour. It can be as simple as that. But you want to have a well-rounded set of goals that cover all the main areas of your life. So for me, those are the 5 areas I use. Feel free to expand them or contract them however you see fit. A lot of people like to include things like hobbies, friends versus significant other relationships, work versus learning, and splitting them up, so on and so forth. I don't like to do that. I like to keep it as simple as possible. And for me, that's 4 or 5 areas, including spirituality, 5 total. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one thing that I'm going to be focused on for that area, and I'm going to write that out, right? And what I like to do just to keep track of everything is I usually just do a brain dump. I put everything that I want to achieve, even if it's going to be longer than that 1 to 3 year time frame. I just throw everything out that I want to achieve in my life. That's a big goal. And then what I start to do is I separate it down to the most important ones, and then I try to limit it to just the ones that I'm going to be working on over the next 1 to 3 years. Usually I'll even go a step further and just focus on the ones that are going to be 1 to 2 years, and there my most important one. And what I'll do is I'll take all of those, my most important ones for the next 1 to 2 years, I'll list them out in order of importance, and then I'll pick one or maybe two to focus on, and I'll separate that from the other ones so that I know sort of what my North Star goal is for the long-term time frame. So I at least know the big objectives that I'm trying to hit and in what order of importance I've put those. Now, if you come out with 20 or 30 different things you want to hit, you really want to narrow that down to just have a couple in each of those main areas of life we talked about before. As you get to the most important ones for the next couple years, really stack them and try to figure out how important they are to you so you can really prioritize the top 1 or 2 goals. But don't worry about that. If you can't get them in the exact perfect order, that's okay. As long as you can have a general idea of what you want to achieve, kind of focus it down for each of those different areas of your life, and then start to get some semblance of a priority, you can keep working on this and revisiting it over time until it's crystal clear. Now, eventually you do want this to be crystal clear, but if it's not right now, just don't rush it. The next part is going to be the projects, and this is going to be something that you're doing this quarter. So for most people, this is going to be the next 90 days, but as a limit, I'll say it can be anything from 2 to 5 months out that you're working on. Now, one important thing is that these should be directly related to your goals. So all the goals that you're working on right now, especially those top 1 or 2 goals that are your focus, you want to make sure that some of that is reflected in this short-term planning sheet, or what I like to call your projects. So these are going to be lists and groupings of individual tasks that go under one project. So say, for example, you have a project of hire a new person for your company. What you're going to want to do is have that as a project. This is going to happen this quarter, and then you want to list out all the subtasks under that you're going to need, so that these big objectives that you have for the next 2 to 5 months, list all the tasks you can think of under it. Now, as you complete some of these tasks, you're also going to brainstorm and come up with new ones as you're planning. That's okay. You can add these in here whenever you revisit this, but it's important to kind of just brain dump all the things you know you're going to need to do in order to reach this goal or accomplish this project, this shorter quarterly 90-day or so thing you're trying to achieve. Now that I also keep on a Google Doc, but you feel free, you can use a spreadsheet, you can use Asana, you can use Trello, whatever you want. But for me, since this is just listing tasks under projects, a project subheading and then all the tasks that go under it, I just do this on a Google Sheet as well. Now this last part is your 3 to 7 days, your actual day-to-day action. Now what I do for this is a little different from what most people do. What I used to do is I used to keep another Google Sheet where I would literally just list out the most important tasks that I had to complete in the next 3 days. Now, since I was only using 3 to 7 day timeframes, I was able to literally just list these out. But I started to get a pretty big backlog of tasks built up because inevitably I didn't hit everything that I planned every time. Sometimes I would do less, sometimes I would do more and have to add some, but it got a little bit messy. So what I decided to do is I decided to get a little more detailed with this aspect of my planning, and I use what's called a Kanban board. Now, if you're not familiar with a Kanban board, it's simply a board that lines up tasks over different time periods and allows you to progress tasks from different stages of being done, all the way from to do, to in progress, to work complete. And what it allows you to do is keep track of all the work that you're currently processing so that you don't have too many open threads running at the same time. So it's really nice because if you're working on a couple of different tasks, you can have them in a work in progress board so that you know not to, take on another task until you've moved those over to the done board, they're completed. And it also allows you to get a good idea of your pace, your flow for different tasks that you're doing on a repeated basis, how long they take you, and how many tasks you can do per day. Now, you can do this on any board, just like Trello is probably the most popular software you can do this on. I personally use what's called a Kanban board on kanbanflow.com. It's a very cheap web app, and it's nice because it also has a timer you can set for Pomodoros or focus blocks or anything, any length of time you want to use as your standard work period, so that you can start to get a feel for, how many of these work periods does this task that I'm doing every week take me? You can start to plan out your work with a little bit more accuracy. So that's what I use for the short term. I basically have my long-term goals, my medium-term projects list for, things that are around 90 days for the length out that I'm planning those, and then my day-to-day actions, which I put on that Kanban board. And I've already made a video on how I use this Kanban board, and I'll make future videos on this, getting more into detail on how you can set it up and plan it. It's something I learned from a number of people that were using this for everything from software development to just planning their day-to-day tasks. So it's really useful in a wide variety of situations. Now, the last part of this is when we started, I mentioned that I keep my professional tasks separate. And just so you have an idea of how you can do that if you would like to, I have a separate board that I keep all of my professional tasks on. And right now, I currently use Asana. Asana is just a very popular task management system. It allows you to set up projects with lists of tasks right in that board. So you can get very specific. You can attach resources, add descriptions, add supplementary files and attachments. And it's just really useful if you're working on teams or on large projects that require a lot of different data sources from all over the internet and on other people's computers and things like that. So what I do basically to implement this so that I can mix the two when it comes to managing my own actions is during my, every planning period I have every 3 to 7 days, I'll look at all the tasks I have to do on the project side personally. I'll look at tasks that I've listed out on my Kanban board that are in the backlog. And then I can look at this Asana task board for all my professional tasks so that I can pull everything that I think I'm going to accomplish in the next 3 to 7 day period. I can line it up on the to do portion of my Kanban board and then plan out how many things I want to get done for each day. And as the week goes on, I'll, adjust according to how my schedule goes and how much I end up getting done. And again, this is kind of a long process. So I'm going to get into a future video where I walk you through this step by step. That's going to be a little longer though, probably, close to a half hour to an hour. So I wanted to give you this quick primer if you're interested to be looking out for that video. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this description of how I plan things out. If you did, make sure to hit the like button and comment below letting me know what you liked about it, what I left out, what's missing, how you organize your day, or what you think I could improve on. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so that you're notified anytime that I come out with new videos just like this. As always, thank you for watching.